Praise him, all creation, celestial heights and waters deep. Praise him, all generations, Eden's sons and daughters sing. Alleluia, alleluia, cornerstone of creation, Christ our rock redeemer. Praise him all in heaven, sing all saints and angels, messengers in chorus, all you heavenly forces. Alleluia, alleluia, Christ the head of heaven, set in place forever. Praise him, all you sinners, praise him, lost and broken. Praise him, all you faithful, praise him, all uncertain. Alleluia, alleluia, Christ our Lord and Savior, praise his name forever. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Amen. Well, welcome to Wednesday nights. My name is Wendy Lyons-Crostek, and I'm one of our pastors here, and it's a joy to welcome all of you this evening. I know it's a little bit rainy outside, so glad to have you here. Before we begin, I'd like to open us in a word of prayer, so let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for the opportunity that we have to be gathered here this evening, for the conversations that we will have, the meal that we have shared, and the opportunity to draw near to you. Bless this opportunity, we pray. In Christ's name, amen. All right. Well, we are so glad that you have joined us today. As a quick note and a reminder, we will not be meeting next week because it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So we'll take just a 1 week pause and then pick back up the following week. But want to let you know that every week, again, we have our meals starting at 5:30, and then our classes then are at 6:15. And starting next Sunday, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, we will be starting a new study, an Advent study, and a part of our Advent study is going to be part of the larger church of the things that we're going to be doing and the things we are hearing about on Sunday mornings. As you leave today, there's a little card that says "Born the King," and so this is not only the Advent study, but it is also what's going to be covered on Sunday morning. So we'd love to have you join and learn more and grow on your faith in that capacity. On Wednesday night, we'll also be offering a special grief class for folks who would find that the holidays are a struggle for them. So if that's you, that's the only other class that we're going to be offering on Wednesday nights, but would love to invite you to learn more about that, but then inviting everybody else to join us on Wednesday nights for our Advent study. And then want to make sure that you know that this Sunday, we're really excited to have author Jim Wallace is going to be preaching. And he's going to be talking to us about what it means to follow Jesus, which seems pretty simple and easy, and yet it's one of those things that we need to be reminded of in the way in which we live our life as we think about our ethics and our morality, and it's going to be a really incredible sermon. So I hope that you will plan to join us. He's a New York Times bestselling author, so really encouraging, and hope that you will be here and bring a friend to join you. And and then the week after will be Advent, which seems just so crazy. But I want to say thank you so much for you joining us here tonight. We had a great meal, Thanksgiving meal, and next week will be Thanksgiving. So for those of you who are in your classes, feel free to continue on with your class. And then for those of you who are staying around in the foundry and joining us, we have a few questions for you to get to know one another that will be found up on the screen. And then shortly thereafter, we'll be welcoming up David Cisney and John Hoffman for the conclusion of our Faith, Work, and Leadership series. So connect with those around your table, and then we'll get started. All right. Well, again, welcome. We have a void right up front. So I'm wondering, do we have any friends who feel brave, who would move closer to the front to find a friend? Maybe, maybe not. Here's my encouragement, too. So thank you to our brave friends who've joined us. Thank you up front. It's just helpful for our speakers to have people who are a little bit closer. I do want to make sure that you are...
I got 9 free sandwiches.
All right.
For anyone who wants to move up.
All right. Oh, 9. If you want to move up, you get a free sandwich. Chick-fil-A sandwich. What?
Wendy, I'll let you handle that.
All right, I can hand those out. Thank you, John. That's right, a little motivation.
Amazing what a chicken
I know. But I do want to make sure for sure that you are sitting with people at a table, because there will at least be one opportunity for you to share in conversation together. And want to make sure that you have an opportunity to talk with folks and get to know folks. But again, I want to say thank you so much. David Cisney has been here for 4 weeks, and he has been interviewing some really incredible leaders in our community. And we are so glad to have him here, and we are delighted that tonight we get to welcome John Hoffman, who is a franchise owner of Chick-fil-A, so you'll have a lot of really great things to hear from them. So I will turn it over to both of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. Woo.
Sorry.
Warm.
Can we do a warm welcome? Yay!
Thanks, Wendy.
All right. So how many of you have been with me for 4 weeks? All right. The brave few. Appreciate that very much. So, yeah, thank you very much for being here, braving the weather and everything else that's going on out there. So really do appreciate you coming out tonight to get to know a friend of mine, John Hoffman. He's an awesome guy, and I think you're going to get a lot out of tonight, and certainly from his energy. For those of you who haven't been with us, just to kind of give you an idea, so these weeks talking about work and leadership and faith was an idea that was conjured, and somebody called me and said, hey, David, you've been in, business, obviously. You've been pretty successful. So what do you, attribute that success to? And could you come out and lead a class on, faith and leadership in the workplace? And I just couldn't believe anybody would want to hear that many weeks of me. So I asked my brilliant wife, Kelly Sisney, who is Director of Operations and Community Life downtown, what should I do? And she said, well, you know a lot of people. Why don't you call them and see who's willing to get up there and just do a Q&A. We'll just do question and answer. So as you know, we've had different varieties of folks throughout the weeks. Tonight, we have a Chick-fil-A owner, which is awesome. And so we'll get to know a little bit about that business. But a little bit about me just to start for those of you who are like, okay, so what? So who's David Sisney? Well, Kelly and I have been attending the church since 1993, so we started in the school. And we made our way in doing a variety of things with the church for all those years. And then in 2008 began plans and thinking about what it might look like to start a church downtown. And so Kelly and I moved downtown Kansas City to help get Res Downtown started, and we'll learn about John's story a little bit in his trajectory, but it's interesting how paths collide and friendships are made and trips to Honduras happen, and it's just a lot of really cool things that happen in ministry. So without further ado, enough about me. We're going to get right into this, and this is supposed to be just a casual affair. And so in the black notebooks on your table, you're supposed to sign in, but there's also a pad of question pad, right? So we may have 10 or maybe 15 minutes at the end for you to ask a question of John if we haven't already gotten to it. So what I would encourage you is, as you think of something, write it down on the question piece of paper and just hold it up, and somebody will come by and pick that up from you, okay? So without further ado, John Hoffman, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure.
Yeah, so tell us about yourself. Who's John Hoffman?
All right, so again, yeah, thanks, David, and thanks so much for having me down here. So kind of our journey, kind of who I was. Yeah, I grew up in St. Louis. I went to college in Birmingham, Alabama, and found my way over to Atlanta, Georgia, and was a home builder there for about 6 years. And then in 2008, got an opportunity with Chick-fil-A to move back up to the Midwest, kind of where we were from. And my wife's family is over in Columbia, Missouri, and so we got an opportunity to own a franchise, own Chick-fil-A up in Kansas City. So so my wife and I have been married. My wife's name is Dodie. She and I have been married for 15 years. We've got four beautiful kids. We've got 2 girls and 2 boys. They're all named L's. It's Lydia, Leah, Lane, and Lawson. And I tell them if I call them right 50% of the day, I'm doing well. So normally it just comes out as a slurry of one of their names, and they'll respond back. So that's a little bit of who I am.
That's awesome. So help us with what are maybe some leadership principles that you live by?
It's so funny. You can put into so many different words and leadership principles, and trust me, we've been with Chick-fil-A for about 10 years, been an owner for 10 years, and we've heard so many wonderful terms and everything. But really, what it kind of boils down to, and what Chick-fil-A has really kind of settled on, is, hey, how do we care for other people? And so that's one of those leadership principles that I live my life every day is, hey, how can I take care of you? When you come into the restaurant, hey, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? But even more than serving, man, how can I care for you? Can I open up the door for you? Can I give you a smile? Can I look you in the face? Can I ask you how your day's been? All those little things, and it's just all revolves around, hey, how can I care for you? So when we talk about leadership principles, man, just with my team members, with my leadership team, with anybody that walks through the restaurant, my bread vendor who comes in and supplies us bread every day, and how can I care for him? How can I care for my guests? How can I care for my team? And I think by doing that on a daily basis, it really creates a wonderful atmosphere at our restaurant. Now, we're not perfect. I will be the first to tell you, if you come up to Chick-fil-A in Liberty, and we're probably going to screw something up. Not every time, but I guarantee you, we're just not going to be perfect. And I think one of those things I took away from building homes was when we built homes. We met with our new homeowners for the first time before we were ready to build their house. And the owner looked them in the face and said, listen, we're not going to build you a perfect house. We can't. Something will go wrong with your house. I guarantee you. But what sets us apart is, hey, how well are we going to take care of you during, through that problem? And that's kind of echoed. I built my own house, benefit of being a home builder. I built my own house, and I had more problems with my own house, and I was there every single day and handpicked everybody to work on it, and I had more problems with my house. So things will go wrong. Just like in the restaurant, things are gonna happen. But hey, how do we try to take care of people through those instances? So that's just how that's kind of how right now how we're living through that business principle of, and we just try to take care of people.
Well, and I've been to your store a few times, and that is so prevalent in the folks that work for you, your team, everything. It's just part of the DNA, and that's awesome. So, John, what are some of the biggest victories and maybe some of the biggest challenges you've had in your career to this point?
Absolutely. Well, doing this for 10 years, it kind of started. The reason I got into Chick-fil-A was because the home building industry crashed in 2008, so we couldn't build anymore. We were doing great. We were selling what we were building. Everything was going well, and then out of the downturn, I was 27, 26 at the time, and that's the only thing I did out of college. And it was like, okay, well, what's next for me? We had one baby. We had Lydia. We were living in Atlanta, and those were some dark times for us because no one was hiring. I couldn't get a job at Home Depot to work. I mean, it was a struggle. It was tough. But then looking back, it's just those doors that were open that God placed in that right path. It was, okay, here, let's have you talk to somebody that's encouraging you to do Chick-fil-A. And then that ultimately led to 10 years of owning this restaurant. And it's been ups and downs. I mean, our whole business really is about the team members. Because I tell them I'm the least important person in my business, because I come in contact with the least amount of guests on a daily basis. And my team members the new team members that I tell that to, they always kind of look at me and they're like, okay, that's fine. The owner's telling us that he's the least important person in the restaurant. And I tell them, listen, I set vision, I make decisions. But if the statement's true that guests run my business because they're the ones that are paying, I tell them I don't pay for chicken, right? And I give you free chicken for working for me. So who are the ones that are keeping the lights on? Well, it's obviously the people that are coming through the door. So if they're the most important part of this whole business, well, the people that come in contact with my guests, man, they're the most important people. And so when I look at it and say, hey, you guys are driving this thing, right? Because I can only come in contact with so many guests a day, because I also have a business to run as well. I would love to be on the dining room from open to close, but I actually have to do some business stuff with it. And so I looked at my team members and said, hey, you guys are the most important people in this. You guys are the ones that keep this thing driving. You guys are making this where my guests then want to come back and experience something that you've done for them. So.
Awesome. Well, that's so awesome, and that's a great way to run a business. And I think that's a key principle in great leadership style, right? Is instilling in your workers that willingness and ability to know, hey, what I do with this client at this moment, it matters, and to hear it in that way really puts a face on it. So a big part of these evenings is that what we know as Christians and as humans is that we grow individually and as humans to a deeper level when we get to know someone we don't know. So tonight you're getting to know a little bit about John, but this is the point in the evening where we're going to turn it back to the tables. We're going to ask you a question to discuss at your tables, and so you might want to move over here with these folks so you can get to know them a little bit. But if you're sitting alone, join a table, get to know them. We're going to give you 5 minutes to discuss this question. I thought it was appropriate for tonight. So what was your least favorite food as a child? Do you still hate it, or have you learned to like it? So that's
green peppers. I could just not have been able to get over green peppers.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
So you guys discuss that amongst yourselves for 5 minutes, and then we'll hear what John has to say. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, come on back to us. Awesome. Sounded like some lively conversation out there. I hope with those questions that occurs. So hope you learn something from one another. So we're going to turn this to John in a second. We already know he doesn't like green peppers. So I'm an extremely adventurous eater, and it's interesting. We talked about the fact that parents have a lot to do with that nature nurture, right? So I will literally eat and try anything. But my dad is a big liver and onions guy. And he
Nope.
tried to get us, the kids, my sister and I, to like liver and onions. And I'll just never forget Mom's dancing around the kitchen. They're making this whole festive thing with liver and onions. And I walk in, I come in and I'm smelling something like, so they're frying it in onions, like the way Dad likes it. And it sat on that plate. I can't, to this day, I hate liver and onions. I just hate them.
Can I tell a quick story?
Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. So about food and not liking something. So my mom would make these sweet and sour green beans. Okay. So green beans with the sweet and sour sauce on it. Oh. And I did not like this at all when I was, I guess I was, 10, 11, 12, something like that. So one night she had a big bowl of it and we had chicken breast one night and I slowly hollowed out the chicken breast and then filled it with my sweet and sour green beans. Okay. So then my dad looks at me and I'm thinking, and I'm good. Like I'm good. I've successfully not eaten my green beans, which I was probably told to eat my green beans. So I hid them masterfully in this chicken breast. And I thought, man, I'm good. My dad looks at me right when we're ready to get up and he goes, hey, would you pass me your plate? I want to eat that chicken breast. I want to eat your chicken. And I slowly handed it over to him and I waited. And he picked up that knife and he went right into it. He didn't say a word. He looks at me, picks up the bowl of green beans, puts them in front of me, and he goes, start eating. Yeah, told that story to my children one day as well. And so every time that we're with Grammy and Pawpaw, the kids always have my dad retell that story of the time that I got caught hiding my sweet and sour green beans.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna stick with sweet and sour green beans?
Yeah, I'll switch to that. Just can't do it.
Okay, can't do it. And green peppers.
And green peppers.
Yeah,
Nope,
right,
that's
okay.
another one.
Gotcha.
Thank goodness we don't do green peppers at the restaurant. So
There you go.
Yeah, anymore.
All right, well, hope you had fun with that. And so, John and I are both res downtowners, and I just want to take a second. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but tonight there's kind of a big celebration going on down there. It's the 10-year anniversary of Res Downtown. Can you believe we've been down there 10 years? 10-year anniversary tonight. Pretty exciting. A whole lot of people coming. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So very awesome. And, of course, this weekend's going to be a big festive weekend. It's going to be it's a lot of fun. So yeah, this is, we get extra credit for being here, don't we? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's dig in a little deeper. So you alluded a little bit to, kind of how you came to Chick-fil-A, but I want to go in deeper. Why Chick-fil-A? Did you obviously didn't wake up one day and go, I'm going to be a Chick-fil-A owner, but let's dig in a little deeper for, it sounded like there was a lot of pain around that. So how did that evolve and how did that come about?
Yeah, for sure. And that was the thing with, and I'll kind of chalk it up a little bit of being a little bit naive. When we were in Atlanta, Chick-fil-A's headquartered in Atlanta. It started Truett Cathy, the Cathy family owned Chick-fil-A. So when we go into the way that it works with operators, so we're actually not owners because we don't own anything. I don't own the lot. I don't own the building, the equipment, facility. I don't own anything. No one does. No owner-operator owns anything. All my team members work for me, for my company, but then I am in partnership with the Cathy family to operate that restaurant. So when looking at, after the home building crashed and we couldn't build anymore, and we all there were only 4 of us in the company, so we all went our separate ways. And I was by far the youngest and kind of lost for a little while and not really having, really didn't know kind of direction to go into. it was just new dad and living in Atlanta kind of by ourselves, and just, we kind of felt kind of lost. We had a wonderful church that we went to, and so that certainly kept us grounded with folks. But again, it was an incredibly hard time. And I had a friend from college that his dad reached out to me and said, "Hey, why don't you let's meet up for lunch?" I said, "Great, Perry." I knew him through college, and so Perry invited me down to the house to have lunch with him, and we just started talking about life and kind of talked about direction, and we kind of talked about, man, what I kind of want to do, and he says, I work for Chick-fil-A, and I said, well, I knew that, Perry, and he goes, hey, have you ever thought about working for Chick-fil-A, not being an operator, but working for Chick-fil-A? And I said, well, that'd be amazing. And he goes, want to throw it out there, it'd be a lot of travel. It's probably, if you're going to be in the operation side, it's going to be a lot of travel. Well, at that time, my mindset was, hey, I just didn't want to be away from, I just didn't want to be away from my daughter and didn't want to be away from my wife. And so that was I kind of put Perry on hold and said, okay, I appreciate that. Little did I didn't know a whole lot about it. Now looking back, it's kind of funny that I said no to that. But so 6 months kind of go by, and Perry says, hey, let's have lunch again. So I said, okay, Perry, that'd be fantastic. So I have lunch with Perry again, and Perry said, have you ever thought about being an operator? And I said, well, obviously that would require us to move from Atlanta, but we'd be, I'd certainly be open to that. And he goes, the thing I can do is I can get you the application. You had to apply to even get the application. So he goes, hey, I can get you the application, kind of, but from there on, that's a separate department. They're the ones that select operators. That's their own deal. So the last time that I talked to Perry the next time that I talked to Perry after I got that application was when I got my restaurant. So it took 9 months of interviews. And it took 9 months of interviews, and I took a low-volume mall store in Topeka, Kansas. So that's what was open. So there was a restaurant in Topeka was available, and there was a restaurant in Ohio. And I had no clue. I didn't know anything about Ohio. I didn't know my Ohio geography at all. So I was like, well, Topeka sounds great because I know where Topeka is. And we had my aunt and uncle went to KU in the 60s, and they've never left Lawrence. And so they've been there forever. And my grandmother had been there for about 14 years. And so it felt right. It felt good. And so honestly, when people ask me, hey, why did you become, there's operator stories out there that, they admired the Cathy family. They admired what they stood for. They admired everything about Chick-fil-A. Well, I didn't grow up with Chick-fil-A. I grew up in St. Louis. And we had a few mall restaurants, but nothing that we ever went to. And my first introduction to Chick-fil-A was in Birmingham, Alabama, when I went to school at Samford. And I'm that person that went there in the drive-thru on Sunday morning for a chicken biscuit. And I looked around and I'm like, oh, that's right. Chick-fil-A's are closed on Sunday. So I was that person that was in the drive-thru. So for me, it was more about, hey, this is going to be something hopefully potentially great for my family, versus, oh, look how great this company is. Look how amazing this family is to give us this opportunity. So all of that just started unraveling once I got into Chick-fil-A. And that was pretty special. But honestly, that a lot of it was just out of a little bit of, I wouldn't say desperation, but at that point it kind of was. But now looking back, you just see where that path just kind of led us right to there. And because we were in Topeka, my wife, we had our second daughter in Lawrence, and my wife got to have this amazing relationship with my grandma, and that was really special to see. So looking back on it, it was an amazing journey. But we were there for a year. We were there for 12 months, and Liberty, the Freestander in Liberty, became available. So I put in for ownership of it, and after about 6 months of interviews, I got selected for that one, and so we moved from Lawrence over to Liberty, and that was in 2010. So we've been there for over 9 years now.
Wow. So almost as old as Res Downtown.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. When we were talking about dates, and I've certainly talked to Scott, the campus pastor there, and then David. When I was hearing dates, it was funny. I was trying to think of, okay, where were we? Where were we? We had just moved. We had just come over from Liberty, or from Lawrence over to Liberty, and just how amazing that would have been if we would have known about downtown at that point. But we didn't.
Yeah, but you actually started coming out here to Vibe.
Yeah,
right?
so I tell you, that was kind of a fun thing, because the easiest thing when you're moving, and we found ourselves that we moved twice. We moved from Atlanta to Lawrence, and then Lawrence to Liberty in about a 14-month span, maybe less than that. Yeah. Anyway, so about a 14-month span. So it felt like we were just moving. Yeah, we've just moved back-to-back times, and with two girls, and one of them being brand new, and that I can move to a city. I can find the Target. I can find my Lowe's or my Home Depot. I can find all those. But one of the hardest things for us was, hey, how do we find another church? We had an amazing church down in Atlanta that we loved, that we got involved with in the small groups and all that. It was fantastic, and that was the hardest thing to do, was to find another church. So and then the hard thing too, when you've got two little ones, you go put them, do you put them in child, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. And so we just couldn't find a home up in the Northland. And my wife's aunt goes to a Methodist church in Texarkana, Texas, and they actually went to one of the conferences that Adam spoke with. And she says, "Hey, Dodie, you just go down there for a Sunday. Just go down there and just hear him for, just if nothing else, just go listen to him once." And we thought, that's great. We're not going to church yet. We haven't found a home, so let's go check this out. And so we went, and we just fell in love with it. And then we found the Vibe service, and we found Wendy, and Adam baptized. I'm trying to get this right. Leah and Lane. Adam baptized Leah and Lane, and then one. We'd always heard about downtown, and everyone always made fun of us from driving from Liberty down to Leawood. And I looked at them all like, listen, we lived in Atlanta. If it's 30 minutes or less, that is around the corner. So driving 30 minutes is no problem. But we really felt like we were just Sunday goers. And so we got involved with Kids Corps and volunteering, and it was wonderful. But that was just for Sunday. It wasn't anything more. Just because of driving, coming all the way down here, distance, and feeling a little bit disconnected. And so we heard about downtown. And we thought, okay, well, my parents were in town for a weekend. We said, hey, would you guys just stay with the kids? And Dodie and I will just go kind of check out downtown. We didn't know what kind of children's activity, we didn't know about Kids Corps down there. We just didn't know. And so we did. We went down to River Market. We had some beignets for breakfast, and then we went down to church. And I remember sitting there, and Scott was up there, and I could not even tell you what he was talking about. And it was probably 10 minutes into the service, and I looked over at Dodie, and I'm like, we're here. We found it. We're home. Like, this is going to be it. And so our youngest, Lawson, was born, and Wendy came, and we wanted her to baptize. And so Wendy baptized Lawson, and then I think it was pretty much the next week. Then we switched, going kind of full time to downtown. But it's been an amazing thing for our family to be so involved with downtown, and it's been an incredible blessing for us.
Well, and you and Dodie and your whole family have been an incredible blessing to Res Downtown. Your involvement there, now leading mission trips, the two of you as a team, it's awesome. In fact, I've been trying to twist my wife's arm because my wife's not a big mission trip gal.
We're gonna get her.
Yeah,
we'll get her in. We'll get her going.
So in June, I think we should join you guys. That'd be fun.
I think that'd be amazing.
Anyway, and for anybody who's never been on an international mission trip, you really should consider it. It's just an amazing experience. John and I had the opportunity to go with 10 other men. 12 of us went to Honduras, and it was a life-changing, unbelievable experience, and just a great thing. So I'm hoping that I get to share that with Kelly at some point. So. All right. So John, obviously you've had some great success. Things are, moving up and to the right, as we say in business, up and to the right. And so things are going well. But in business, we know it wasn't always that way. It may not always continue to be that way. So the reality of it is, let's talk about a failure and how did you get through that?
Yeah, well, up and to the right is great, but it brings challenges as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things when people look at the success of what's been going on with all of our restaurants and the successes that we had, it's been great. But it definitely does come with its challenges. And so I know you're going to ask about kind of a challenge, our hard time, and I would just say, anytime that you're leading an organization or anytime that you're responsible for people. So I mean, currently right now, I always kind of have to remind myself, currently it's 7:00 and we're just winding down for dinner. I have team members that I'm responsible for that are serving our guests, that are representing me and representing the Cathy family, and it's certainly, and every owner operator feels it, that there's a certain amount of pressure that we do feel to live up to the reputation that the Cathy family kind of put out there, and we certainly do carry. I mean, we certainly carry that with us every day, whether we're there or whether we're not. It's certainly something that's always on our mind, because again, if we're trying to create a culture to care, it's always on my mind. Are we doing that? Are we successfully doing that? And hopefully I've got the right leadership. Hopefully we've got the right team members that are trying to buy into that. But it's tough. And it's something that certainly does weigh on all of our minds, is that, hey, how well are we taking care of the guests that come through the door?
That's great, but I'm there's probably somebody out here that's thinking, okay, but I'm dealing, I've recently had a failure. I mean, is there any help you can give us? Is there a failure maybe it was a bad hire, maybe it was, and maybe it's not even in Chick-fil-A, maybe it's something previous. But, how did you, obviously as a great man of faith, I have a tremendous amount of respect for your Christian journey, and we'll dig into that a little bit more too, but, where do you summon that? And so in that failure, how did you work through that? And how do you prepare for that in the future, maybe?
Yeah, so when you look at that, when you look at failures, it all depends on how you're going to look at it, how you're going to view it. If you view it as, hey, I failed, or, hey, what did I learn from this? So we were talking earlier at our table about something that we would tell our teenage self, and I made the comment, hey, I would love to go back and tell myself, hey, don't worry about the studying aspect of schooling. It's great to study, but what are you learning? And I certainly apply that to the things, because there's not enough time or room on this paper to talk about the things that the missteps that I've made in business, either in hiring, and I did it last December and hired somebody I probably shouldn't have hired in, and it didn't go well, and I ended up having to let that person go. It just wasn't the right fit. But hey, what did I learn from it? So real life, hey, I've got an interview on Monday with a person that's moving back into Kansas City that wants a leadership role in the restaurant. And so based upon what I learned from last year, I'm going to ask different questions to this person, because they're coming in kind of wanting that same job. And so everything that I've messed up and screwed up, hey, I've learned from it. So honestly, I can go on for hours. Healthcare. So my leadership, I'm paying for their healthcare this year, and this is the first year that the restaurant that I felt like we're financially that we can afford to do that, is to pay all my leadership's healthcare. And I completely screwed it up. I completely screwed it up, and I had to call Chick-fil-A and say, hey, this is my first time doing it. I completely screwed this up. I need a little help. I need a little grace on this. And of course, in pure Chick-fil-A fashion, they're like, hey, no big deal. We got you. We can change it on our end. It's going to be fine. But again, it was one of those things that, hey, I just didn't know. I've never done it before, and I messed a couple things up, and I learned from it. And I told one of my leaders, Caleb, I said, hey, listen, and I messed this up. But hey, the email that you got it in error, and hey, I'm gonna own up to that. I messed this up. And so, hey, I'm learning from this as well. And hopefully from what I experienced and what I told him, he's going to mess up sometime in the restaurant as well. And hopefully he remembers a conversation that, hey, the owner just told me, hey, he screwed up. Hey, he messed this up. But I learned from it. Hopefully Caleb, because I know he's going to do something that do something that a team member, or that he'll mess something up. And hopefully he can look at that team member and go, hey, I totally screwed that up. Hey, I'm sorry. Let me fix that. So again, it's just that culture of, hey, I'm not perfect. We're not perfect beings at all. But hey, I'm going to learn from it. And so anything, there's been countless times of this of, hey, yeah, there's been a misstep. Hey, I shouldn't have done this big catering order. Or hey, I shouldn't have gone in Topeka. They had this, down at the convention center, they had this scrapbooking convention. And it was all day. And I was like, hey, I'll go sell sandwiches at this. And they're like, okay, well, we need you to be there all day. And I'm like, great, no problem. I'll be there all day. I was there all day long. And I think I sold like 25 sandwiches. Again, it's just one of those things like, and I've never done another scrapbooking event ever. All day long.
Now, that's not to say anything bad about this.
100% not, but
No.
don't tell them you're going to be there all day. Again, it's just one of those things, and we all have them. It's actually really humorous to sit around a table of owner-operators because we'll tell you every mistake that we've done because we've all learned from it. We've been doing this for so long, and it's helpful to it's helpful to the guys that are just now getting their restaurants as well as how vulnerable we are with them. Just to go, yeah, look what we did. Like, look at the mistakes that we did. Look at what I did. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. We've got a new restaurant. I'll plug this one. We've got a new restaurant coming over in Lenexa. It's 87th. Is that the new main street out there? 87th and 435. There's a new restaurant. The owner operator is Drew Severance. He's in training right now. He used to be at the Ward Parkway location. And so he's going to be operating that one. And so we've just had these discussions of like, hey, this is what we did wrong. Please don't,
Lessons
please don't
learned.
do this. Lessons learned.
Yeah.
Please don't do this.
Yeah.
But I think that's the main thing. If you can come out of this whole thing of looking at mistakes and not viewing them as, hey, I screwed up, but versus, hey, look what I can learn from. And not repeat those things.
I also heard grace abounds, right? So what I heard in that too was that as the folks working for you see that you're willing to admit the mistakes and, forgive yourself perhaps, but learn from it and do better, then your leaders in your store realize, okay, so I made a mistake, I need to own this mistake, and they're not in fear of, repercussions, right? Because they know, hey, what's important here, I know I'm going to make a mistake, but I need to learn from it. So, and that's leadership.
Yeah, for
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great little nugget.
Yeah, and I hope my leaders make mistakes because that means that they're trying something, that they're putting themselves out there.
Yep.
And I love that. But
Fail forward.
Right. We'll talk about it, right? I just won't let them fail and not. Right. We won't learn anything from it. But that's I love the fact when my marketing director comes to me and goes, and we kind of have a recap of, hey, how this event goes. And I love when she tells me, well, not love when she tells me, but I love it when she says, yeah, that really failed. I said, but then my next question is, well, what did you learn? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things too of all of our high school kids. It's, hey, how do we get them to think? How are we getting them to use their brains? And I always look at home with 4 kids like, how do I get them to think? Mm-hmm. How am I just not spoon feeding them and not just giving them the answers? And I find that time and time again at the restaurant with the kids. Just how do I get you to think? And the best way to do it is just asking questions. So they don't like most of them love coming and getting conversations with me because I get them out of working for like an hour. Because they know if they come and sit down with me at a table, it's going to be an hour. That will just get because I just ask them questions. I'm curious about them. And then I always give them the opportunity, hey, what questions do you have for me? Come on, I'm an open book. I don't care to tell, I don't mind sharing with you, hey, the things that I'm not good at or the things that I've messed up because I was told a long time ago, hey, just kind of know who you are. Stop pretending to being somebody that you're not and just kind of own who you are because no one's perfect. No one's good at everything. And if we think we are, then we're probably not.
Well, yeah, we got other issues.
Exactly.
Nobody can stand to live with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so John, share a story with us, a time maybe in the store or some other time when your faith was, really seriously tested. And, how did you work through that? And how did your faith play a role in that? Or did it?
No, absolutely. There's a lot of prayer. There's been a lot of prayer that's going on at the restaurant. It's tough. Like I said, the restaurant. I can't do everything by myself, right? I can't open the restaurant. I can't serve. I can't cook chicken. I can't take out the trash. I can't. It's not a one-man operation. So I'm relying on a lot of people. I'm relying on a lot of talented people to do the things that I need help with. But when you start losing people and people start taking different opportunities and you're left with a very, very small amount of leadership in the restaurant and then somebody gets sick or somebody, and so it was before back surgery, so it was 2016, and we were riding that fence of just, I can't lose anybody else. I can't lose anybody else. And I got a phone call from my main gal, my director of operations, and she calls me and she's like, I just broke my ankle. Like I'm out. I just broke my ankle. I'm having surgery. It's gonna be a while. And I still remember the way I felt that day, because I was just like, man, what am I gonna do? I can't, I can't do everything. I couldn't do everything. I needed some help. I needed somebody, and had a lovely time in prayer. And it was hard.
So wait, you really prayed?
You what now?
You really prayed?
I really prayed?
Yeah, you really prayed?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Like
can't honestly say when I've had a really hard business thing that the first thing I've done is prayed. So
oh man, yeah, oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. The third table outside under the umbrella is where I like to go. Yeah, third table. If you look at the restaurant, we all have them. We all have our special places in the restaurant that we like to go. Some guys go to the cooler because it's the freezer, because it's almost soundproof in there, and you can get a good scream in there if you need to. Inside it's the first high top table. You'll see me there, or outside it's the third table over on the right. That's where I like to sit and just pray, because it's one of those things that it was beyond my control at that point.
Yeah.
And at the end of the story, it turned out pretty good. I mean, I called another owner in Wichita, Kansas, and I said, hey, I know you have a strong person that travels around, that does grand openings. Is she available to come for like 2 months to help me out? And he's like, let me check. He gives me a call back, and his name is Jason Lansdowne in Wichita, and he's like, hey, she can be up there tomorrow. And I was like, are you really? Like, seriously? He's like, yep, she's on her way. Just get her a hotel room. I was like, done.
All right, I'm praying every time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pray
absolutely.
Every time. Wow.
And again, it's not, and a lot of it too, a lot of my prayers for that isn't, hey, Lord, send me somebody. It's, Lord, calm my heart, right? Calm my mind so I can make good decisions. Because I'm not expecting, I'm not a prayerful person to pray that all of a sudden then someone's going to walk through the door. It's more, for me, okay, God, just help me calm myself. Because there's a lot of things that are going on through my mind.
Yeah. So what does it look like to be a Christian in your place at work? Because, are all your employees Christians?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So it's interesting. Chick-fil-A is interesting. And Chick-fil-A will, and the Cathys will tell you this, Chick-fil-A is not a Christian company. And that kind of comes as a little bit of a surprise, but Chick-fil-A is not a Christian company. Chick-fil-A was founded by a family that does business based upon their Christian beliefs or Christian ethics, how they treat people, but it is not a requirement to being an owner, to being a Christian. There was the number one operator, the highest volume operator. I think he has two or three restaurants now down in Houston. He's a man of Jewish faith, and he's been an operator for a long, long time. And so it's definitely not. But what I will tell you though is, hey, how do you treat people? Hey, when you're in the restaurant, how do you treat people? How do you talk to them? How do you look them in the eye? There's so many things that go along with just who are you as a person. And if you're not a person of faith, that's fine. But hey, how do you treat people? Because everyone that comes through the door, hey, how are we going to care for you? Now, you better demonstrate those things to me when you're sitting across the table at an interview. Because I'll ask you, hey, tell me about this next person, and we usually wait until someone comes through the door. And it's all right, that person in that blue shirt, how are you going to care for them today? And I'm just kind of curious to see what they say, right? And I've told my staff, if you're interviewing somebody for a front counter position, if you don't know in the first 30 seconds whether we're going to hire them or not, it's taking you too long. Because if they're not giving you their best right off the bat, if they're not looking you in the eye, if they're not smiling at you, if they're not speaking enthusiastically, or if they're not staying connected with you during this interview, how in the world are we expecting them to do the same to a random guest that comes in through the door? So I give them 30 seconds. And you better show me something.
So how do you use your faith in that hire fire situation? And not just hiring, obviously you ask questions. Does your faith play a role in that? Or am I hearing, kind of explain that for us? So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously your faith informs you.
Right.
You can't impose that on someone else,
No.
but what does that look like? And then talk about if you have to fire somebody, let somebody
Sure.
go.
Yeah, no. No, it's again, both of those things are kind of part of business, right? So again, for me, being at the restaurant, hey, who I am is reflected, how I treat people is a reflection of who I am and what's in me. So being a Christian, hey, I want to treat people with honor, dignity, and respect. And so hopefully I don't have to wear a sign that says, hey, I'm a Christian. Hopefully by my actions, hopefully by serving you, by going around and picking up your tray or going around and asking you, hey, how can I refresh that beverage? Hey, how was your day? By the way that I demonstrate what I do for people, hopefully that's a reflection. Then they go, hey, that may be something a little bit different. Or hey, who's he? What's that story behind that? And same thing too, how I talk and how I treat my team members goes a long way of setting a good, hopefully a good environment, a working environment of just, hey, how do we treat everybody? And then if a team member comes up and asks me about my faith, or asks me about, hey, what makes you different? Or hey, why do you treat us so well? All of those things I've had asked of me before. There's nothing more powerful than when a teenager comes up and goes, hey, why are you nice to us? I don't know, that's who I am. Right? That's some of the things that God's instilled on me. Hey, I want to be a good reflection. I want to reflect what it means to be a follower of Christ. Of hey, I'll talk to anybody. Hey, I'll serve anybody. Hey, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter really anything other than, hey, you're coming in. You've chosen to come dine with us. That's great. So hey, how can I care for you? And it's opened up wonderful conversations. It's been fantastic. It's been amazing to sit across from a teenager and them ask you, hey, what makes you a little bit different? Because man, we had other bosses that yelled at us, that cursed at us, and you haven't yelled or cursed at us. And then I laugh and I'm like, well, it's just that's who I am. And then that's leading to good conversations about kind of who I am and what I believe.
That's awesome, and I think that's right. That's been kind of a common theme in these evenings, is that we, how we walk and talk differently. I mean, there's a lot of faiths out there that I think, do the right thing, and they love one another, and so what we don't want to get caught up in is perhaps beating people over the head with a specific kind of faith until we're asked about it. And I love that picture of when a teenager asks you that question, that it opens the conversation to be able to talk about your faith rather than you imposing it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's
absolutely.
Awesome.
That's been incredibly powerful for us. Of just, hey, just come and ask, right? Let's just get into a discussion.
So on the other side, have you ever maybe you've expressed your faith in a situation? Have you ever gotten in trouble for that? Ears boxed, maybe by a customer, maybe by somebody who, I don't know.
Honestly, not really, just because those conversations usually happen, just on a one-off and, well, the first high top table that you see in the restaurant. That's usually where a lot of the conversations have happened. But again, it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen, over my career. I can remember, over the 10 years, I can specifically remember those conversations. So it's not like it happens all the time. But certainly, I've never been, I'm always, as an employer, as an employer, I'm careful of what we do say, and posing. But hey, if the door is open, especially if I am talking with one of my team members, I always wait for them to open up the door about either going to church or whatnot, and that just brings up great conversation. But it's not in my personality or to necessarily lead with that with a new team member to go, hey, by the way, where do you go to church? Because that's their decision, like that's who they are. They've made those decisions to either go to church or not or whatever. And so I just let the conversation roll.
Yeah. So have you ever purposely not expressed your faith, or, I mean, who else been a Peter, maybe denied your faith in a situation where you thought it, might not be appropriate? So, I guess the way I crafted this question was, in business, I mean, we're called, Adam certainly leads us every weekend, and we're called to be disciples of Jesus Christ and Christians 7 days a week. It's so easy to be here amongst our fellow brothers and sisters and be perfect Christians. But we're called to do that out in the workplace 7 days a week. So, and there are certainly roles and goals. We've had those folks on stage where you absolutely can't express your faith. It's just something you can't do. And we've heard about the positive way you live your life. But I guess, have you ever had an opportunity to purposely not express your faith for fear of repercussion, or just because you thought it, might better your situation, or?
No, I don't. I really can't think of any time that I have. And honestly, it's one of those things that I just try to live my life how I think I should. So if it's one of those things, for me, it's in the small things, right? It's, hey, can I take that tray? Can I even when if we're outside of Chick-fil-A, because I also have 4 little ones that see everything that I do, that are also being influenced by everything that I do. And I want to show them, hey, what you do, what you put out in the world, hey, it's noticeable. So, hey, are we holding doors for people? Are we saying thank you? And I really try to get them to say my pleasure, but it's not all there quite yet with all 4 of them. But I always try to impress upon them, they see me do the small things, and there's nothing that brings me more joy is when I see my 4-year-old just go and grab and hold open the door and for all of us to go in, and it's like, man, I won that day. And then, of course, if I throw an absolute fit in the car over something, who knows? But
or hits
yeah, exactly. But in that small little moment, man, we won. I got it. And I've just, that's just kind of how I've wanted to live my life, is just, hey, what are in the small things? What can I do for somebody else?
Yeah. All right. So we're going to do something kind of fun with you, John. We're going to do what I've called the hurry up offense, and it's kind of fun, just a way to dig in, 1 word or couple word answers to these. This is just supposed to be really fast drill. So get to know John at a little more surface level here.
Intimate level.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. So you ready to go?
Let's go.
All right. Slow dance, fast dance, both, or no dance?
Slow dance, and then off the dance floor right when the fast song comes on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite food?
Anything Mexican.
All right. Favorite car?
I had a 1994 white Grand Jeep Cherokee that I inherited from my dad. It and I loved that car.
All right, there you go. Favorite movie?
The Godfather Part 2.
Ooh. Favorite thing to watch
Which I
on
just saw in the theater. They re-released it for the 45th anniversary. So I just saw it in the theater for the first time. I never got to see it in the theater. And I just did last Wednesday. It was magical.
Favorite thing to watch on TV?
We're big Crown watchers. We love The Crown on Netflix.
And
yeah.
it just came out. The
And the next season just came out. I know.
Yes. Favorite musical instrument?
I love listening to. I was never a big musical. I would love to, as we talked about, I would love to be able just to go sit down and play the piano. I love the cello. I love listening to the cello. It's phenomenal.
Not the oboe.
Not the oboe, the cello.
Best live concert you ever attended?
That's a hard one because I'm not a big big concert. We did go to, my wife and I, we went to a Coldplay concert up in Chicago, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, the one with the big LED wall.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah,
it was
yeah,
it was a good concert.
Favorite sport to watch?
Football, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, football.
Pro or college?
Both, because I went to, so growing up in St. Louis and not having college football around, and then I went to school in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I got introduced to college football really quick.
Yes, you did.
And
Yes,
so,
you did.
yeah, so either one, college or football,
All
or
right.
college or pro, it doesn't matter.
All right, what's your sport to play?
I love playing golf. I love playing golf.
Really? You're a
Well,
golfer.
up until the back surgery a couple years ago, then I haven't played as much.
All right, sounds good. Not pickleball for you?
Not pickleball.
Okay.
We did. We had fun on that court though.
Yeah, we
did.
yeah, we did. All right, so what are your favorite sport teams, college and pro?
Well, my wife went to MU, so she's an MU grad. My aunt and uncle went to KU in the 60s. And so like I had this, so I didn't tell her this for a while we were dating. And then I got my MU loving grad of a wife to live in Lawrence, Kansas for a year. That's how much she loves me, and it was great. But anybody in the SEC, we've got friends that we lived in the South. We have friends that are have allegiances to every single SEC school. So on any given weekend, somebody's not happy. So we don't mind. We watch anything.
You got mostly Big 12 fans here, I'm
Oh, I know.
guessing.
Absolutely. But I grew up with the Jayhawk, with the Jayhawk candle from the candle maker in Lawrence. The Wax Man. Anybody know the Wax Man down on Massachusetts? Okay. Yes. So I had a KU. I had the bird right there, on a candle growing up.
Oh boy. All right. Black coffee or double tall skinny vanilla latte?
I told you, zero coffee in my life. Zero.
All this energy
Zero.
and no coffee?
No coffee at all. Unsweet iced tea with the correct amount of ice.
Oh.
Which I have to tell every single one of my team members exactly how to make the proper cup of unsweet iced tea at the restaurant.
All right, next time I'm up, I'm going to have you.
Oh, yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I like iced tea.
It's the ratio. The ratio of the ice liquid, it's key.
So call a service man or fix it yourself.
Definitely try to fix it myself. YouTube is the greatest thing for trying to fix things.
It is.
Yes, so I give it a go, and I'm pretty successful. But I definitely know my limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely know my limits.
There you go. So eat in the restaurant bar area or in the dining room?
Depends if there's a really good game on, then we'll go bar. But if it's just my sweetie and I, then it's in the dining room because it usually means we're without our children, and that's a magical moment.
There you go. That's right. Saver or spender?
Definitely spender for right now. We love to save, but it felt as of recent, it's been a little bit more spending than saving. Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to dig into that?
No, it's just
Okay.
4 kids, man.
So what's your best body feature?
My wife loves my feet. I've got really good looking feet, and not everyone has good looking feet. I've got nice looking feet, and she has complimented me on. I have nice proportional toes. My oldest daughter does not. And I'm like, my wife, we comment about,
Oh my gosh.
our nicely proportioned toes
There you go.
on my foot.
All right, hug or no hug?
Oh, massive hugger.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's a
massive.
hugger.
Love a good bear hug.
All right, let's give him a
Absolutely.
round of applause. That was. So we've got about 13 minutes. Has anybody handed in questions? Do we have some questions? All right, let's collect those.
And I'm an open book for what you guys want to know behind the scenes of Chick-fil-A too. I'll pull the curtain back.
So Christ is calling us to faithfulness that looks to him and not to what we think that we want. So how do our wants, John, rob us of what is best and what is really prosperous?
All right, one more time. One more time with that. I know I've got it.
You can read it.
I'm not sure if I made it all the way down to 17 on our list.
Yeah. So I think the reality of the question and the reason I created it was mainly probably for myself. I want to learn from you. Because, we're called to this life of faithfulness, but at the same time, in business, we want more, right? We want more. And what I loved about Adam's last two sermons was about learning how to be grateful and thankful, right? Well, we all struggle with the fact that we can be grateful and thankful, but we still want more, right? So how does that get in the way?
Yeah.
And,
and I'll put it a little bit different too. So as an operator, as an owner, if the restaurant does better, if typically if we're there, if I would be at my restaurant open to close, it would run better profits. It just would with the influence of an owner being there. If we were there open to close, and one of the hard things that a lot of the operators are struggling with right now is, hey, yeah, we can get more. Our profited number can be better. Our labor can be lower. Our food costs would be better. There's so much that we see from a number standpoint that can drive us to be better.
You have to walk up the stairs.
Because there's never an end. You can never get to a point in our restaurant, in our business to go, yeah, I've reached the end. It can, in our eyes, it can always get better. I can always care for my guests more. I can always run a better number. But for me and how we've lived our lives, when you look at that chicken sandwich, hey, is that chicken sandwich becoming an idol in my own life in the pursuit of better? And what are those things that I'm missing out on? Mainly for me in my life right now, hey, what am I missing out on with my kids' life? Because it would be so easy to be at that restaurant open to close. But hey, what am I missing out on? Because I've also made a promise to my wife that I'd be there with her, that I'd be there with the kids, that I'd help them out. And so carrying that balance is pretty hard for us sometimes. And now, obviously, if the restaurant needs it, I'm going to be there. But if it doesn't, then hey, I'm going to make sure I have those opportunities with my family, because it's so easy to kind of idolize and worship that chicken sandwich and understand, hey, where are my priorities right now? Because it's very easy to look at that. Hey, that check can be bigger. Hey, I can give more of it away, or I can make sure that I've got everything all ready to go for the kids, and that kind of thing. But to me, that's part of it. Hey, where do I have that work-life balance?
Right. That's awesome. All right. So I know you want to answer this question. This is the question.
Okay.
So my nephew just got married. They're gay. Would you have catered their picnic reception? What about other operators?
Okay, so I can't speak of any other operators, right? Because they're their own person. I can't speak for any other owner. I would know for myself, hey, I'll be more than happy to cater. Hey, I'll be more than happy to serve you. If you want to call them, sure, great. If anyone wants to call the restaurant and tell me who they are, sure. Are you buying? Like, all right, are we asking this for a donation, or are you buying this? If it's fine with me. I have no problem whatsoever. No problem whatsoever. Why? Because you're an individual. You are who you are, and I'm here to serve. So no matter who comes through the restaurant, no matter who comes through the door, no matter who picks up the phone, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that you have a really good experience. No matter, because if you're wanting my food, and that says a lot about you. That tells me you're a fan of ours. You're a fan of our chicken. You're a fan of our food. So absolutely, let's just tell me when and where, and we'll be there.
Awesome. Well, that certainly speaks to your leadership at Res Downtown, and obviously our population is very diverse, and the love that you and Dodie have for everyone that comes through the doors is it certainly reflects that. So I thought this was a great question. Interesting to know what the answer is. So is there a mile ratio for Chick-fil-A's? So, is there a certain mileage between stores? I'm assuming that's what they mean. I think this person wants more Chick-fil-A.
No,
that's what I read into the question.
Mileage. So it works a little bit different. Chick-fil-A Inc., so down in Atlanta, the Cathy family, Chick-fil-A Inc., they select every location. So if Dave would like to be an owner-operator, but he's got this great corner lot, and he calls and says, hey, I've got this great corner lot that I own. Hey, I want to build a Chick-fil-A on it. Not how it works. So Chick-fil-A selects every location. And then they build it, they furnish it, they equip it, and during that time, then they find the owner for it. They find the operator for it. And so if you go down to Houston, you literally can throw a rock and hit different Chick-fil-A parking lots. Like, that's how close they are. Why? Because they have an incredible population density. So the thing that's not working against Kansas City, but we just don't have as great of a population density as places like Houston and Dallas and Atlanta and whatnot. And so for us, it's been a little bit more slow growth. But we'll never obviously have as many restaurants as they do. But they'll continue to add as the population densities kind of grow. So I talked about Lenexa. The next one's probably going to be the Belton area. We're hearing pretty strong rumors of that one. And kind of when you look at the map, that's kind of a hole that we're just not in. I don't know if I'll say this or not, but yeah, there's more strong look. There's another one that's hopefully going to work out down in Overland Park area. So they're still working on that one. So, but we're hearing those rumors have started to get a little bit stronger. So we're thinking that one's actually going to happen as well.
Okay. So a couple of questions on the recent foundation decision to no longer contribute to the Salvation Army and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. You want to speak to what that means to you as an owner, or how that?
Yeah, so, and we talked about, and this is such a relatively new thing. Again, I would love to speak intelligently on this, but the fact of the matter is, there's a difference between, obviously, we talked about, I'm in business with the Cathy family. So each individual owner-operator is in business with the Cathy family. Obviously, the Chick-fil-A, headquarters Chick-fil-A Inc. itself is its own entity. And so, the decisions that they make out of there, we're just not privy to a lot of that. We're just not, we don't know. We know probably just as much as just anybody else does. We don't know a whole lot. And honestly, I would love to speak into that. But as I've talked to my dad today, because he called with that question as well, and I told him, and he got kind of fired up about it. And I said, Dad, I would love to get as fired up about it as well. But honestly, unless we know, because we just don't know everything now, I just can't speak. I just can't speak intelligently on that. I know the giving that the Hoffmans do and who we give to, and I can speak intelligently to that, but I just can't speak intelligently to what the Cathys do, and what Chick-fil-A, what Chick-fil-A Inc. does. And hopefully I will. Hopefully I'll be able to, but I just don't know everything about it yet.
Right. So kind of like the first question that we went right at, this is similar. Sorry.
It's fine.
Okay.
I'm good.
I know that you're good, and I know you
right.
but we knew these would come, right? So how does your "how can I care for other people" fit into the anti-LGBT policies of the parent company?
Well, I'd ask the question what parent or what policies are out there as well. And when we're talking about serving our guests. And when when we're talking about when people come into the restaurant, they don't carry a sign on them, or we don't carry a sign on the door by any means, just saying, hey, our doors are open and welcome for anybody to come in and dine with us. And I'll be more than happy. We will bend over backwards. We will care for anybody who comes in, and we will serve them just as well as we serve anybody that comes in. Because I just don't know anybody's personal beliefs when they walk through the door. And I think that's kind of what's the fun for us is that anybody that comes in, it just gives us that opportunity. It just gives us an opportunity to share, hey, who are we personally? Who are you as a person? Hey, how can I care for you? So that's anybody that walks in. That's certainly how we handle. That's how we talk to them, to anybody.
All right, so why no mommy and me packages offered? Is this decided by each location? I don't know what a mommy and me
mommy and me packages. So each individual restaurant can do their own thing. They can come up with different marketing strategies, different marketing things. And really it's driven by a couple things. It's driven by the operator and what they're passionate about. It's driven a lot by, hey, our restaurant marketing directors. And then a lot of it's just, hey, some restaurants do this, and hey, that's a great idea. Let me steal that idea, and we'll do it at the restaurant. So different places do different things. And I think in how branded and equal, how our menu is when you go to each Chick-fil-A, the menu is standardized. So everybody has the same things on their menus. But every restaurant has a little bit different feel to it, based upon what the operator, kind of who the operator is and what kind of personality they have, or are they more to do, do they enjoy doing more activities with different, restaurant nights or whatnot, or is it a little bit more catering focused, or is it, so not every Chick-fil-A is identical in those ways. So so different ones do different things.
So that's interesting. All right, maybe something to think about, right? All right, so we've got about almost just a minute left. So one question said, what field is your degree in, and have you applied it to Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, so I got a degree in marketing and management. The Samford University offered in our business department. You could either do accounting, no, or you can get a marketing management degree, and you could tailor make it kind of however if your interest was in international business, hey, take a few more, take an extra international business, or go study abroad. If it was in finance, hey, kind of take a few more elective finance classes. So you kind of got to tailor make your degree a little bit, which was fantastic for me because I enjoyed doing everything. I enjoyed, and that's what was neat about building homes, is that I got to touch a lot of different areas. I got to do a little accounting. I got to do a little, I got to do a lot of different things. And I think that's what I loved about owning my business and doing Chick-fil-A, is that, hey, I get to do different things every day. Every day is not the same. And that was really appealing. That was really appealing to me.
All right, 2 seconds. So do you have the core decal on your car?
Do I have the core decal? No, I'm not a decal guy on my car, period. So yeah, I do not have the core decal on my car. The car stays pretty clean in the back.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It just does.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you,
It's my
David.
pleasure.